Hi, and welcome to the MDSAP overview presented by Immune. I hope that you enjoy this training, and I hope that it's very informative for your organization. Today, we'll be talking about the Medical Device Single Audit Program. Let's start out with what MDSAP is. The Medical Device Single Audit Program is a regulatory audit that was developed in conjunction with 5 different jurisdictions to allow medical device manufacturers to have a single audit which satisfies all of the quality management system requirements from those participating regulatory agencies. Regions participating thus far are Australia, Brazil, Canada, Japan, and the United States. Others are expected to join. Each country that participates in the program defines how the audit outcomes impact the regulatory status of medical device manufacturers in their region. So what is the focus of MDSAP? There are 7 chapters total with 4 main areas of focus. All of these areas are built on a foundation of risk management, and they comprise all of the regional regulatory requirements from the participating countries. There are 3 additional supporting processes that fulfill specific regulatory requirements for those countries as well. The main focuses are management, measurement, analysis and improvement, design and development, production and service controls, with supporting processes being purchasing and marketing, authorization and facility registrations, and medical device adverse events and advisory notice reporting. So how does a manufacturer become MDSAP certified? It begins with a Stage 1 initial audit. This is an audit of the procedures to ensure that the manufacturer has built a compliance framework within the quality management system to comply with the applicable regulatory requirements for the regions. Next is a Stage 2 on-site assessment that includes documentation review of objective evidence confirming appropriate implementation from those procedures. After certification is granted, at year 1 and year 2, there's a surveillance audit conducted of the quality management system. At year 3, there's a recertification audit that confirms all of the applicable requirements from the 7 chapters that apply. During the surveillance audit in year 1 and year 2, not all of these requirements are covered, but sampled. Now let's talk about the regional audit application for MDSAP. In Australia, TGA considers MDSAP certificates equivalent to an ISO or FM certificate. In Brazil, Anvisa accepts MDSAP for initial audits but does require Anvisa to visit for high-risk audits. MDSAP can be used to renew your Anvisa GMP certificates biannually instead of the inspections. In Canada, MDSAP replaced CAMDCAS as of January 1, 2020. This means that Canada is no longer doing their own inspections for routine surveillance, but takes the MDSAP audit certificate in its place. In Japan, they are accepting MDSAP in place of the JQMS audit. And in the US, FDA has been accepting MDSAP for routine inspections, but not for cause or compliance follow-up audits. Approval application inspections or classification of device audits do not apply. So just what are the impacts of MDSAP certification? Well, some of the positive impacts are that it can allow you to enter a market. For example, in Canada, you are not allowed to market your product unless you have MDSAP certification as a foreign manufacturer. There can also be some negative implications if you have nonconformities which potentially compromise the quality of your products in the marketplace. The immediate impact to marketing and sales is that these audit reports are shared with all 5 participating agencies. This means that they all receive the same information. FDA sees all of these audit findings as well and knows all of your QMS areas of weakness. If major findings are observed, it may trigger or can trigger additional inspections directly from multiple regulatory agencies. Major nonconformities are reported and licensing can be immediately impacted in all of these regions as well. Now we're going to test your knowledge. What does MDSAP stand for? The Medical Device Single Audit Program. How many chapters are in MDSAP? 7 total chapters, and a bonus if you also knew that there are 90 tasks. Name the 5 regulatory agencies participating in MDSAP. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, and the Japanese Pharmaceuticals and Medical Devices Agency, Health Canada, Brazil Anvisa, and Australian Therapeutic Goods Administration. Now let's dive into the chapters. MDSAP Chapter 1 is the management process. There are 11 different items within this chapter, and different areas or auditees that could be audited as part of this include quality assurance, regulatory affairs management, the management representative, a training manager, supplier quality, purchasing, customer service, design and development, document control, and people that may have information about market authorizations. The purpose of auditing the management process is to verify that top management ensures an adequate and effective quality management system has been established and maintained. The management process should be reevaluated at the end of the audit to determine whether top management has demonstrated the necessary commitment for an effective QMS that has been communicated to personnel. Outcomes of this portion are that the management process through objective evidence will show whether the medical device organization has identified processes needed for the QMS and their application throughout the medical device organization, and their sequence has defined, documented, and implemented procedures and instructions to ensure the development and maintenance of an effective quality management system, has established quality objectives at relevant functions and levels within the organization consistent with the quality policy, and ensured that these are periodically reviewed for continued suitability, and has determined the criteria and methods needed to ensure the operation and control of the QMS processes, including identification and management of the interrelated processes, are defined, and has committed the appropriate personnel and resources for infrastructure to the QMS and assigned responsibility and authority to personnel within established organizational structures to ensure that quality processes are not compromised. Additionally, it's expected that the organization performed a risk management planning and ongoing review of the effectiveness of risk management activities within the company to ensure that the policies, procedures, and practices are established to analyze, evaluate, and control risk, and to ensure the continued effectiveness of the quality management system. This is all to make sure that the company has established a quality system that is capable of producing devices that are safe and effective and suitable for their intended use. There's a lot of information in Chapter 1, so let's go ahead and do another knowledge check. How many audit tasks are part of Chapter 1? If you remembered 11, you are correct. Name 3 departments who are involved in Chapter 1. There are many departments because all departments participate in the quality management system, but a few of those are listed below. Name 1 task objective from Chapter 1. There are many to name listed below, but if you stated that risk management throughout product realization, confirming that a management representative in place, confirming management reviews are conducted, that quality policies and objectives are established and measured, confirming that devices distributed only to approved locations, or confirming that the responsibility and authority is in place appropriate to risk, you were correct. Moving on to Chapter 2. As part of Chapter 2, there are 3 different items within this to be verified. This chapter is aimed at ensuring that the organization has performed appropriate activities with all applicable regulatory agencies prior to releasing product to the market. Areas involved in this portion include the market authorization responsibility, quality assurance and regulatory affairs management, management representative, those responsible for distribution agreements into the 5 MDSAP countries, design and development, and regulatory affairs. The device marketing authorization and facility registration process may be audited as a linkage from the management process and the design and development process. The purpose of auditing the device market authorization and facility registration processes is to verify that the organization has performed the appropriate activities regarding the marketing authorization and facility registrations within those 5 participating regions. As a result of the audit, the device marketing authorization and facility registration processes will show objective evidence whether or not the medical device organization has complied with requirements to register or license device facilities, submitted device listing information to the applicable regulatory authorities, contained device marketing authorization in the appropriate jurisdictions, arranged for assessment of changes where applicable, and obtained marketing authorization for any changes to the devices or to the quality management system that required an amendment to an existing marketing authorization. Now let's talk about Chapter 3, Measurement, Analysis, and Improvement Processes. One of the most important activities in the QMS is the identification of existing and potential causes of product and quality problems. Such causes might be identified so that appropriate and effective corrective or preventive actions can take place. The organization is responsible to measure, analyze, and improve its processes, and to collect and analyze information, identify and investigate existing and potential causes of product and quality problems in order to take appropriate and effective corrective or preventive actions. This prevents reoccurrence of quality problems. It is essential that all medical device organizations verify or validate these actions, communicate corrective and preventive action activities to responsible employees, and provide relevant information for management review input, and document these activities within the quality system. The management representative is responsible for ensuring that the requirements of the QMS have been effectively defined, documented, implemented, and maintained. As part of the MDSAP audit, it is typical for an interview to be conducted with the management representative. This is to get a process overview and so that the auditor can understand management's knowledge and understanding of the processes. Information regarding device or identified QMS nonconformities observed during this portion of the audit is used to make a decision during the design and development chapters. It's also used to assess which suppliers could be potential focus for Chapter 7 and purchasing processes. As a result of the audit of measurement, analysis, and improvement, objective evidence will show whether the medical device organization has defined, documented, and implemented procedures for measurement, analysis, and improvement that address the requirements of the QMS standard and participating MDSAP regulatory authorities, identified, analyzed, and monitored appropriate sources of quality data to identify nonconformances or potential nonconformances and determine the need for CAPAs. Ensured investigations are conducted to identify underlying causes of nonconformities and potential nonconformities where possible. Implemented appropriate CAPAs to eliminate the reoccurrence or preventive action to ensure that quality problems do not occur. Review the effectiveness of corrective actions and preventive actions, and utilize information from the analysis of production and post-production quality data to amend the analysis of product risk as appropriate. There are 16 different audit items in this chapter aimed at ensuring that the organization analyzes information and data from the quality management system to identify potential or occurring quality issues, correct them, and measure those outcomes again. Areas that could be involved in this portion of the audit are internal auditors, quality and regulatory management, the management representative, quality data analysts or people that perform trending, the quality assurance complaint department, individuals responsible for CAPA, individuals responsible for nonconformances, design and development personnel, regulatory authorities, reporting, or individuals responsible for purchasing. Now let's jump into the MDSAP knowledge check on Chapter 3. How many audit tasks are part of Chapter 3? 16 is correct. Name 3 areas who are involved in Chapter 3. Auditors, quality assurance and regulatory management, management representative, quality data analysts, complaints department, CAPA department, nonconformance department, design and development, regulatory personnel responsible for advisory notices, and purchasing. Name 1 task objective from Chapter 3. Although there are many, some of the information which could be confirmed as part of Chapter 3 is listed below. MDSAP Chapter 4, Medical Device Adverse Events and Advisory Notices. This process may be audited as a linkage from the measurement, analysis, and improvement portions. The purpose of auditing the medical device adverse event and advisory notices reporting is to verify that the organization has processes that ensure individual device-related adverse events and advisory notices involving the medical devices are reported to the appropriate regulatory authorities within the required timeframes. As a result of the audit, objective evidence will show whether the medical device organization has defined processes to ensure individual device-related adverse events are reported to regulatory authorities as required, and has ensured that advisory notices are reported to regulatory authorities and authorized representatives when necessary. This includes any notified bodies and terms of contract, and has maintained appropriate records of individual device-related adverse events and advisory notices. There are 2 different items within this chapter, and areas involved in the audit could be quality assurance, regulatory affairs management, the management representative, quality data analysts, and regulatory affairs responsible for advisory notices. Let's talk about design and development. Chapter 5 focuses on 17 different items aimed at ensuring that the organization establishes, documents, implements, and maintains controls to meet the device and user requirements. Within this chapter, there may be employees from the design and development teams, quality assurance and regulatory affairs management, the management representative, marketing personnel, clinical personnel, purchasing personnel, supplier quality, engineering, and marketing authorization personnel involved. The purpose of auditing the design and development process is to verify that the organization establishes, implements, maintains controls to ensure that devices meet the user needs, intended uses, and specified regulatory requirements. As a result of the audit of design and development, evidence will show that the company has defined, documented, and implemented procedures to ensure that the medical devices are designed according to those specified requirements, effectively planned the design and development of a device, established mechanisms including systemic review for addressing incomplete, ambiguous, or conflicting requirements, determined the internally or externally imposed requirements for safety, function, and performance of the intended use, including regulatory requirements, risk management, and human factors requirements, verified that design outputs satisfy the design input requirements, identified and mitigated to the extent practical the risks associated with the device, including the software, which is part of the device function if applicable, ensured that changes to the device design are controlled with risks associated with the design change, identified and mitigated to the extent practical, and that the device will continue to perform as intended, performed design validation to ensure that devices conform to the user needs and the intended use, and confirmed that the design is correctly translated into the production methods and procedures required. It's time for the Chapter 5 knowledge check. How many audit tasks are part of Chapter 5? If you remembered 17, you are correct. Name one area who might be involved in Chapter 5. Many areas are involved, but the ultimate responsibility lies with the management representative. How many products are to be verified during the review of design and development in Chapter 5? Typically, one product is selected for this review, and information from the previous chapters is used to determine what the risk of the devices the company makes are in relation to the products provided to the market. We're moving right along to Chapter 6, Production and Service Controls. The audit of production and service controls includes testing, infrastructure, facilities, equipment, and servicing. This portion verifies that the organization's processes are capable of ensuring that products meet the specifications. After completing the audit of the medical device organization's production and service controls process, the audit team typically returns to the management process in order to make a final determination of whether top management has ensured that the adequate and effective quality management system is being established and maintained within the organization. The purpose of the production and service control process audit is to ensure that the company manufactures products that meet specifications. Objective evidence is required to show whether the company has defined, documented, and implemented procedures to ensure production and service processes are planned, developed, conducted, controlled, and monitored to ensure conformity of the specified requirements. Next, objective evidence is required to ensure that the company has developed production and service process controls commensurate with the potential effect of the process on product risk, and ensured that when the results of a process cannot be verified by subsequent monitoring or measurement, the process is validated with a high degree of assurance that the process will consistently achieve the planned results. Next, the company is expected to ensure that there are implemented procedures for validation of the application of any computer software for production and service processes that affect the ability of the product to conform to the specified requirements, including validation of computer software used in the quality management system, and the company has maintained records for each batch of medical devices that provides information for traceability and confirmation that the batches have met the specified requirements. The company is responsible to ensure that they have documented evidence of implemented controls to protect customer property, including intellectual property, confidential health information, and other forms of customer property that are used or incorporated into the products. There are 29 different items included in the Production and Service Controls chapter, aimed at ensuring that the company has processes such as testing, infrastructure, facilities, equipment, servicing, personnel to consistently facilitate the product conformance. Departments involved in this area could include quality assurance, regulatory affairs management, management representative, facilities, calibration personnel, engineering personnel, supplier quality, purchasing personnel, design and development, training personnel, engineering validation personnel, nonconformities, statistical process control, and data analysts, customer service, receiving, any personnel responsible for market authorizations, for reworks, or shipping and distribution or servicing of equipment. It's the Chapter 6 Knowledge Check review. How many audit tasks are part of Chapter 6? If you said 29, you're correct. Is supplier management an area who is involved in Chapter 6? Why or why not? Yes, they are involved due to the monitoring of service providers performing calibration, validation, pest control, environmental monitoring, also due to controls over processing agents used in manufacturing or any critical outsourced activities such as distribution. The supplier management may be involved. What is the requirement in Chapter 6 for documentation of a customer requirement? In Task 25, the organization is required to review customer requirements, including specifically the purchase order, to make sure that the organization can meet all applicable requirements before committing to supply product to a customer. This includes confirmation of the regulatory approval for the product in the country where the customer wants that product to be delivered. We finally made it to Chapter 7, Purchasing. Within the Purchasing chapter, there are 12 different tasks aimed at ensuring that the organization has adequate controls over outsourced materials and processes to meet the intended use of the overall device. It's important to note here that any critical suppliers are treated the same as the legal manufacturer. This would include any outsourced contract manufacturing organizations or sterilization providers. Typically, the rule of thumb with critical suppliers is that it's any organization performing activities on behalf of the manufacturer whose output cannot be confirmed through subsequent inspection of the product. The intent of the purchasing process is to ensure that purchase, subcontract, or otherwise received products and services conform to the specified requirements. The organization is expected to establish and maintain documented controls for planning and performing purchasing activities. The controls necessary depend on the effect of the product on quality, safety, and effectiveness of the overall finished device. Effective purchasing processes incorporate purchasing requirements and specifications, the selection of acceptable suppliers based on the capability of the supplier to provide acceptable product, the performance of the necessary acceptance activities, and maintenance of the required quality records. Suppliers include those providers of any product received from outside of the medical device organization, including corporate or financial affiliates, where the product has an effect on subsequent product realization or the final medical device. Auditors typically tend to specifically look at those organizations who outsource activities such as design and development or production to one or more suppliers, and when the supplied product or service cannot be verified by subsequent inspection. As a result of the purchasing process, objective evidence will show whether the organization has defined and documented and implemented procedures to ensure that purchased product or otherwise supplied products conform to the specified purchase requirements, established criteria for the selection, evaluation, reevaluation of suppliers based on the type and significance of the product purchased and the impact of that supplier on the finished product, performed the evaluation and selection of suppliers based on the capability of the supplier to meet the specified requirements, ensured the continued capability of suppliers to provide quality products that meet those specified requirements through reevaluations, determined and implemented an appropriate combination of controls applied to suppliers in conjunction with the acceptance verification activities performed in-house to ensure conformity to the product and quality management system requirements. This information should be based on the impact of the supplied product on the finished medical device. Areas involved in the audit may include quality assurance, regulatory affairs management, the management representative, supplier quality, purchasing, design and development, sterilization record control, for example, document control, quality data analysis or trending, receiving inspection, customer service, or distribution personnel. Now let's discuss the MDSAP process summary. The typical duration of an audit is 6.2 days for initial certification and about 60% of that for a surveillance audit, and 5 days for recertification. A pre-audit or stage 1 audit is about 2 days of a desktop review. The secondary portion or stage 2 audit is about 5 days of SME hosted on-site review. The locations of the audit depend on the operations of the company. For multi-site operations and sites that conduct activities for another site, it would be assessed according to the MDSAP requirements. This includes warehouses performing receiving and shipping activities, critical suppliers like sterilizers or finished goods subcontractors or CMOs. Internal preparation for MDSAP audits is very important. As part of your quality management system, you should always perform an internal audit to all of the MDSAP requirements prior to your Stage 2 audit. Detailed MDSAP audit approach documents are available for use on the FDA's website. As you're using this information, please make sure that you're using the most current download. NC scoring is performed according to a grading scale. We're going to cover this grading scale in the subsequent slides. Important information to remember is that 2 or more grade 4 nonconformities or 1 grade 5 nonconformance has the report issued to the regulatory authorities within 5 days. For all other reports, they're provided within 45 days. Audit reporting is performed in a separate template, which is in a download on the FDA's website. This audit report has 18 sections with extremely specific requirements. Responses for MDSAP audits externally are 15 calendar days. This corresponds to any investigation and CAPA plan which you're going to provide. It's also a 30-day timeline for evidence of implementation for any grade 4 or 5 nonconformances, and an NC grade of 3 or below is confirmed at the next audit. It's time to discuss nonconformity grading. Nonconformances are graded on a scale of 1 through 5, using the chapters of ISO 13485 as a guide for risk-based ratings of a 1 through 3. Any repeat nonconformities are escalated by adding 1. A lack of a procedure or nonconforming product released to the market also adds a +1 to the nonconformance grade. Using the scale on this slide, let's go through a few examples. A first-time audit finding for employees in the manufacturing area not being trained to quality policies and objectives, as the training procedure does not require this training, may be cited as part of Chapter 6, Task 12, and ISO 13485, Section 6.2. A score of a 1 is the base score for an indirect clause, and a +1 would be given for an absence of a process or procedure. The total score would be a 2. A second-time audit finding for product labeling not being legible or readable on a product, this activity was not confirmed as part of the release of the product. However, it was a requirement of the DMR. The signature and the date of the person releasing the product was also not documented. However, this is a procedural requirement. The reference citation for this nonconformity would be Chapter 5, and an ISO 13485 2016 citation of 423 and 751 may be given. A score of a 4 on a second occurrence of a direct section would be assigned. A +1 would be to nonconforming product released to the marketplace for a total score of a 5. Now I'd like to share an MDSAP audit success story with you. Xthera Medical was a small organization who was granted emergency use authorization for one of their products during COVID. Recently, they published an article on Yahoo Finance stating Xthera Medical received certification for Medical Device Single Audit Program and recertification for ISO 13485. In the news release, the CEO stated, "Receiving certification from these prestigious organizations demonstrates Xthera's commitment to regulatory and quality standards that not only healthcare providers and patients require, but is also an important milestone in our global development strategy." He went on to state, "With these approvals, Xthera is well positioned to move forward with its plans towards global commercialization." Thank you for your time today, and I hope that you have the best of success in your MDSAP pursuits.